All right, today we're cracking open a modern Scottish classic that's just brilliant. It's part sprawling family saga, part gripping murder mystery, and part deep philosophical quest. We're talking about Iain Banks' masterpiece, The Crow Road.
I mean, come on. With an opening line like that, you just know you're in for a wild ride. This isn't just for shock value either. It perfectly sets the tone for the whole book. Dark humor, sudden tragedy, and the totally unexpected.
So, that explosive opening just throws us headfirst into the world of the McHoan clan. You gotta ask, who are these people? And are their relatives really spontaneously combusting?
So, our guide through all this chaos is Prentice McHoan. He's this university student trying to figure out all the big questions. Life, love, God, the whole shebang. But he's always getting sucked back into the orbit of his huge, super smart, and, let's be honest, deeply dysfunctional family out in rural Scotland.
Now, the title of the novel, The Crow Road, is actually a puzzle itself, and it really holds the key to the book's central theme and the mystery that's driving our guy Prentice.
See, the Crow Road is an old Scottish phrase for death. If someone's away the Crow Road, it means they've passed on. So right from the cover, Iain Banks is signaling to us that this story is all about how we deal with, or maybe fail to deal with, our own mortality.
But this whole death theme, it's not just some abstract philosophical idea. Oh no, it is tied to a very personal, very real family cold case.
Here's the deal. Prentice had this uncle, Rory, a super charismatic, larger-than-life guy who 8 years ago just vanished. Poof, gone, without a trace. The only thing he left behind? A manuscript for a book he was writing, which was also mysteriously called The Crow Road. Prentice gets completely obsessed with finding out what happened, and that quest is really the engine that drives this entire story.
But to solve this mystery, Prentice has to start digging into a past that his family would really rather keep buried, and buried deep.
His investigation is anything but simple. He starts piecing clues together from Rory's old writings, then he finds these cryptic notes that lead him down a rabbit hole of complicated family affairs. It's this trail of breadcrumbs that eventually connects Rory's disappearance to an even older family tragedy.
And you see, this search for his uncle, it's really happening at the same time as Prentice's search for himself. The more secrets he digs up about his family, the more he's forced to look in the mirror and figure out who he is, what he really believes, and where the heck he fits into this crazy clan.
And right at the heart of that personal struggle is this kind of philosophical Cold War he has with his dad, Kenneth. Kenneth is writer, and he is a die-hard atheist. For him, death is just the end, full stop. But Prentice, he represents this younger generation's desperate need for something more, for some kind of meaning beyond that finality. And this tension, it's not just family drama, it's this huge clash of worldviews that really fuels the whole book.
And that father-son dynamic is really just a perfect snapshot of the wider family. The McCollans are woven together with all these threads of secrets, betrayals, and yet fierce, deep-seated loyalties. For them, the past isn't just history, it's this living, breathing thing that's still haunting the present, which makes Prentice's investigation all the more risky.
So, how does this tangled, messy web of secrets finally come undone? Well, it's pretty shocking.
After all of his digging, all his searching, Prentice makes a horrifying discovery. His Uncle Rory didn't just leave. He didn't have an accident. He was murdered, and the crime has been covered up for 8 long years.
This revelation is like the first domino in a devastating chain reaction. We find out that Rory's murder from 8 years ago is directly tied to that even older family tragedy. Then, Prentice finding out the truth in the present day, well, that contributes to the decline of his own father, Kenneth, which leads to another heartbreaking loss right after.
It's by facing all this grief, the truth about his uncle, the death of his dad, that Prentice is finally forced to grow up. It's like these massive tragedies just burn away all his adolescent confusion and push him towards a much more mature understanding of life and love and his place in the world.
So, after all that darkness and discovery, what can we really take away from Prentice's long, hard journey down the Crow Road?
Well, the book leaves us with some really powerful lessons. It teaches us that we kind of have to embrace the messy, complicated history of our own families. It shows us that loss is what really forces those of us who are still living to figure out what actually matters. And ultimately, it suggests that the meaning we're all looking for, it's found in connecting with people, right here and right now.
And Prentice's entire journey proves this.
He doesn't just get a neat little package with all the answers tied up in a bow. No way. He earns his clarity the hard way, through confusion, through heartbreak, and by facing some really uncomfortable truths about himself and the people he loves.
And that's the beautiful paradox of this book, isn't it? For a story that's so completely saturated with death, its final message is incredibly life-affirming. It basically says that even when you're staring down loss and existential dread, it's the bonds of family and love that actually last and give our lives meaning.
Which leaves us with one final thought. The Crow Road is a powerful reminder that every family has its hidden stories, its own ghosts. So the question is, what would you find if you started digging around in your own family's past?